Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Josh, and we're going to be talking today about this little lovable furball. We're going to be looking at the pro scene in specific, and I've been scouring contenders. You might be thinking like, hang on, the pro scene ended, right? Overwatch League is over. Surely there's no more pro scene. No. There is tons and tons of contenders action happening right now. It's all the semi-finals, quarterfinals, playoffs has been happening. Korea, just to date myself, finished up very, very recently. Like, there's so many things going on in contenders at the moment, and it's definitely the place you want to be looking, right? These guys are playing technically on patch 1.26. That means that this is the patch just before the one that released now. So the one with, with Hammond in it, with the Sombra changes, the Symmetra changes, but not with all the support changes. So, what does this mean? Well, it means we've got a fresh new meta. It's exciting. It's crazy. You can see the Sombras on both sides. Sombra's actually being played a ton in the pro level, but we want to primarily try and focus on what the Hamster is doing, on what Wrecking Ball is up to in that pro level meta, because the question is, well, where does he fit into a team? How does he work? And one of the curious things that seems to be emerging from these high level teams is that he's being played as a main tank. And you see Gladiators Legion, this team, I picked this VOD specifically because Gladiators Legion have picked Hammond more than anybody else. They seem to love this hero. They really seem to have experimented with it, really seem to have sort of pushed it to its limits, and they're trying their best at making it work. But all sorts of other teams have been running Hammond, and a couple of trends that I've been seeing are that Hammond is A, mostly been used on defense, so teams generally use him on defense, and B, he's being used as a main tank. He's so disruptive and so agile because he just launched across the map there. This Widowmaker has no idea what to do to get away from that because the Hammond just launched him from miles away. They did manage to get the hack onto him, did manage to stop him up, and did manage to kill him. However, this is the other big thing that I'm noticing with Hammonds. If you can disable his ability to just roll around, he gets way more vulnerable. The ability to sort of ball up and roll away actually gives him a lot of extra durability that perhaps you wouldn't otherwise expect. There's a lot of hero counters to him that seem to be pretty strong. Things like the Roadhog, Orisa seem to be pretty good just because they do so much damage to him. I quite like Tracer against him because you can go and sort of punish his ability to just roll away after doing a boatload of damage or a boatload of stuff. You can see on Gladiators Legion that Panka has built up a good chunk of ultimate charge, and this also is a common theme that I am seeing with this Hammond play, which is that building up ultimate charge generally comes at the back of two major plays. One is just swinging like a wrecking ball right through the enemy team. The other is doing that drop attack, that pile driver, and then using the barriers to keep yourself alive, and then just rolling away or rolling in as needed. You can see he's going to launch up, he's waiting for it, presses control, drops down into the middle of the enemy team and does a ton of damage, and then just rolls away, just goes whoop, 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 and he's gone, he's safe, and he can sort of do what he likes. He's down to 100 hit points, but that's fine, he's got plenty. He's okay, and now his supports are all going to go and pick that up. The other big mystery at the moment is the use of that ultimate. You can see there how effective it can be. 2 kills going onto that Hammond, going onto that wrecking ball at that specific moment, and that's because he's managed to deploy it right into a choke point, especially when the payload sort of gets snarled up in these narrow alleyways, in these narrow little doorways. It gets very, very difficult and congested. It's very difficult to find your way through that space safely, especially when there's a boatload of mines there. The other big thing I'm seeing a lot with Hammond's deployment of his minefield is, of course, you want to put it behind the enemy team. You basically want to say that you can't retreat, so if you're going to run forward, you've got to run into us as best as possible. The other thing that I've seen is a number of tracers just blinking into mines, and that's always pretty hilarious if you ask me. Okay, I haven't done much actual analysis on this game yet, but we're just keeping a close eye on the Hammond. We really want to focus on where this new hero has his strengths and has his weaknesses. Right now, Panka is just being evasive and agile. What Hammond lets you do is play it like a much more aggro and what I call a rushdown style. You can see a Tracer Bomb committed to kill him there with a Discord Orb. Will put an end to that nonsense, but it's bought enough time for the Genji to get his Nano Blade up and running. He can get 2 kills very cleanly, very easily, and then hopefully the rest of his team can clean up on the back of that. It also does a good job of nullifying the Transcendence, so hey, you don't have to care about that if you've got Nano Blades. It feels pretty good. But yeah, Hammond is introducing this new playstyle, right, which is that you can basically play what I call Rushdown. Now, Rushdown is like a variant of Dive, but it's much more rough and tumble. You do stuff like this with Rushdown, where you just launch into the enemy team and try and fight them as much as possible. It's a very, very brawly team comp. It doesn't matter what you find, if Genji Tracer is surgery and you've gone in with a scalpel and you're going very, oh, we're going to get the Zenyatta, Hammond comps feel more like a sledgehammer. You know, you're just bashing your way through. You're just clobbering them as hard as you can. And that's really where the strength lies. Now, if you want to talk about counters, though, Rascal's brought out one of his old favorites. And I honestly think May at the moment perhaps slightly underrated by a lot of players because, my god, she's terrifying with no damage drop-off. It's pure hell. I hate it. Ladies and gents, myself, I've got to admit, I'm not the biggest fan. But she is a true terror, and again, she just is very good at stopping Hammond's ability to get in, do damage, and roll away. You can punish him from doing that, and if you can stop him doing that, you can shut down Hammond pretty easily. You can see that Panka's been kind of having a rough time of it now that you've got the Sombra, you've got the May coming out, the Diva to do a lot of damage, and a Sleep Dart as well. Farzik's picking up that pick, and has been making her way back because team comps have been getting tankier overall, and so Anna naturally gets stronger as the meta changes because that's what she suits, right? She's really good at pumping healing into these really, really tanky targets. And so we're seeing this sort of shift away from the more surgical double sniper or the more surgical dive comps where you have the Genji tracers, and now we're moving into this brawly phase where this honestly isn't too uncommon now. We're seeing Doomfist Hammond, we're seeing Sombras being used who are just building up ultimates, and basically feels like Sombra 1.0, right? She's building up ultimates super quick because she can do it really safely, and then she's just gonna drop EMPs onto people. There you see Panka again, caught by the wall, the hack, the stun, the sleep dart, sorry, and the May freeze. It makes his life really, really difficult. So if you're having issues with Hammond, honestly, give May a look. Or if you're playing support, Anna could be a good option for you. If you're playing tank, Roadhog, pretty good look. Diva could also be pretty good against it. I honestly quite like Arisa as well, just to pull him around. You get a ton of free damage on him as well. It feels pretty good. But the most curious thing to me, the most fascinating thing to me, and I don't know if you guys felt this as well, but when you first saw Hammond, you're like, oh, it's an off tank. But then watching him being played as a main tank, you got to ask yourself, like, why does this work? Why does he work as a main tank? And I think it's just the sheer amount of disruption he can do to an enemy team, right? His initial engage, he doesn't give you a barrier like Winston does. You know, you don't get that safety, but you do get a good couple of seconds where the enemy team all gets launched into the air if you land his ground pound just right. And suddenly, they're all sort of out of position, they're all stuck, and then you sort of swing around a bit, you knock people away, and it's more tanking and disruption through doing that. You're not really stopping damage by just, you know, putting down a barrier like Winston would, but you're stopping damage by knocking people out of positions where they can deal damage. You're knocking people away from places where they can do things to stop you from just disrupting them and being a tank, being effectively what you want to be. It also helps that he can have up to, you know, 1,000 hit points, it feels like, at any given time. So if you do get that ground pound right, if you do get that agility right, it will be huge. So then, ladies and gents, we're going to the attacking phase, and you see Gladiators, this is why I picked this matchup, because Gladiators love this Wrecking Ball pick. I've been informed as a caster that I should get used to calling him Wrecking Ball, because I believe that is what Blizzard wants, that is what Blizzard desires, and what Blizzard desires, Blizzard gets. Everyone's just got to call him Hammond anyway. I mean, it's so much easier, isn't it, ladies and gents? It's just so much simpler. I don't know, if anyone in the chat wants to call him Wrecking Ball, like anyone at all, instead of Hammond, let us know. So we can point you out as a very unique individual, perhaps. But we're going to see something very similar. Again, this sort of Sombra play, she can set herself up way easier. I'm just going to sort of diverge you a little bit while we wait for these guys to set up. Sombra can sort of do what she likes now. There you see the launch-in. If you want to get good launch-ins like this one, by the way, the biggest tip I can give you guys is just make sure you put that sort of the grappling hook above you. You've got to sort of swing upwards into something. So you need that a little bit of height on what you grapple to, and that will let you do stuff like that. But again, the Sombra disable just makes the hamster's life so very, very difficult. He just gets hacked, gets demolished, and he can't really do anything past that point. He's reliant on that ability to roll away. So do not, for the love of all that is holy, ladies and gentlemen, fall into the trap that is just standing there with your guns out, shooting at people, hoping that that's going to work, because it kind of really doesn't. He just kind of tickles people. And so you really want it to be like rolling around at the speed of sound because you've got places to go. And so you want to just get out of there as best you can, get to safety, and then maybe just disrupt their team enough for your team to get some kills and win. I know you're probably playing ranked and your team's probably just all picking their nose and spawn or something, but, you know, that's how it goes. Alright, so then, what are we seeing at the moment? Well, again, you're seeing this very brawly style, this very in-your-face play style, this very high-intensity, high-aggro play style. And it's very difficult to deal with this, right? Especially when they have this many ultimates. Gladiators Legion building up to a huge play here. Like, they have pretty much 5 ultimates in the bag. You can kind of safely say they're going to have 5 ultimates for the next fight, should they want them. They're going to be able to deploy a minefield as well when these guys pop out. They're going to be able to EMP them. It's going to get ugly pretty fast. So you can see Wrecking Ball, he's trying to get to the choke point, but doesn't quite do it. And this is one thing I have noticed, like one of the weaknesses of Wrecking Ball, but I imagine this will start fading away the longer that people practice him, is that sometimes Wrecking Ball doesn't quite seem to end up perhaps where the player was intending to put him, let's say. And so sometimes it doesn't quite go well, but you can see again those ground pounds being, so I think that technically the ability is called Pile Driver. The Pile Driver is just the best way to really get that maximum efficiency out of Hammond, because not only does it deal damage, but it also knocks people up and knocks people around and makes their life very difficult. It's hard to do damage to something when they've launched you into the sky and you're sort of going, oh god, what do I do? You just got to be a bit careful, because it does kind of stun you in the sky for a second or two, but I've noticed it's harder than it seems. You've got to sort of adjust to aiming at him. I think with time people get used to, you know, shooting him out of the sky, but it is trickier than it looks. There you can see the hack again. I'm sure we're going to see a dead hamster in the kill feed pretty soon as Rascal actually continues to do damage. No, actually he seems to have survived. Again, this is the value that the Ana pick, for example, will be able to give you. But you can see the rough and tumble, the brawly playstyle, and it warms my heart slightly to see stuff like this, which is that, you know, the meta seems to be changing. We do see a lot of what we call GOATS comp, a triple support, triple tank comp. That is slowly fading away, though. Seems to be fading away in favor of stuff like this, where you have these very high-intensity, high-brawly playstyles that just love sort of just having big, long fights, big, long brawls. Individual skill gets to shine a little bit in times like this. You can see Blase doing a huge amount of damage. I'm just going to call him Blase because that's how it's spelled, and it sounds cool. I'm not entirely sure if that's actually the correct way to pronounce his name, but that's what I'm going to call him anyway. Right. Now they're moving into this final point, and like this is where I honestly think Hammond could start to shine. You generally see like a lot of Reinhardt coming out here. You want the barrier that basically stops up a lot of that space, but because you can employ this Hammond either as a main tank or even as an off tank as well, but as a main tank certainly you can get a lot done with that. You can just roll him in. Again, you're going to hit multiple people every time you use that bounce up. You're going to very easily be able to get that huge amount of barrier as well every single time you press that E button. And you're going to have tons and tons of hit points to sort of play around with and be safe with. So it's going to be very difficult to deal with. One of the other cool things, you know, I occasionally get asked a lot when I stream that, you know, oh, well, what do you think Hammond pairs well with? And sort of one of the common answers tends to actually be like Diva. You know, you think Hammond and you think, oh, well, what main tank do we pair him with? But honestly, Hammond Diva is very, very durable. The Diva sort of gives you extra allowance to be able to slip your way out. Also, naturally, Hammond Zarya does work quite nicely as well. Of course, you just put the bubble on the Hammond and the Hammond goes in. But honestly, Diva just seems to work that a little bit better. She's just a little bit better at covering you on your way out, providing a little bit of extra killing power as well. It's pretty good. It just feels right. It feels very nice to have those two. And honestly, people might say that, oh, well, maybe Graviton Surge and Hammond work really nicely together. I kind of don't see that myself. It's too scattered. The mines don't quite do enough, so I don't really see the value in quite doing that. But they managed to complete the map again with that Hammond main tank offensive. Not uncommon to see, apparently. Now we're seeing it being played all over the place, different places, and having like a tank that can honestly flex between main tank and off tank, I think feels really nice as well. Like it is one of those problems where it's like, I don't really know what main tank I'm going to play into this comp. Well, now you've got another option, or you can just go and assist and play Hammond is more of an off-tank role, hunting down more agile targets or just being a bit more disruptive, maybe pouncing on Widowmakers if you're feeling confident with that grappling hook. I can say as a Widowmaker player, Hammond is a nightmare to deal with when he gets into close range. You can't escape him as easily, especially with the nerf that he's recently had. It makes it very, very difficult to deal with that because he's so agile, he's so quick to move around, he's just going to follow you to the ends of the earth, and you're just not going to get away from that. He's also surprisingly difficult to headshot. It's weird because the hamster is so fat and large, you think it'd be kind of easy, but because he's just floating above the hitbox, it actually gets surprisingly tricky. With Diva, at least if you miss a head, you're going to hit a body anyway. Same kind of with Winston, right? That head hitbox is in the middle. But with Hammond, it's sort of, it's on top. And so if you miss, you do 0 damage, and that makes life a little bit harder. But Gladiators Legion, again, going with this defensive lineup, again going with the Doomfist as well. It's an interesting thing, like I find Doomfist Sombra a very interesting matchup, because the Doomfist has the burst to be able to kill Sombra, but Sombra, of course, can hack Doomfist, and that's a massive problem. The nice thing about these Sombras as well is, of course, they provide a ton of scouting information. You can also do very agile plays like this. Like, it's very interesting to see that they swapped off the Diva there. It felt like they had kind of a free Diva kill, but didn't quite go and commit to it, so this ends up happening. Feels bad, man, right? Just caught napping, basically. Oh, Rascal, you were put down. Feels bad. Right. Anyway, you can see the Hammond continuing just to play that high aggro style, using that sort of swinging point, these rocks here at the start of Watch Point to Brawl, so Route 66, really nice to just get a nice early swing in there and then sort of just roll away nice and safely. But they've got to be careful, of course, there's only 50 seconds left, so We'll see how this next offensive goes in. They have like resources as well. Like Rolf almost has that nano boost available to him. That will be very, very pivotal in the coming fight. There you can see it going in, going onto the Doomfist, just give him all that extra burst power and survivability. Basically means the Doomfist can kind of do what he wants. This is what I was talking about with the Tracer. You can kind of try and punish the Wrecking Ball by just chasing him down, hunting him down. But you can see he's got a large health pack, he's got the heals, he's got all this durability, and because he's so agile, if you can scoop up those health packs, it makes it very difficult to finish him off. It's a little bit like Roadhog, you know, where Roadhog is pretty durable, but it's just like, you know, you're trying to kill Roadhog and then he huffs his paint can and he's fine, then he finds a health pack and stuff like that, and it gets kind of difficult to deal with. It feels like Hammond's just like that, where you almost kill him several times, and then you realize, wait, I can't actually kill this guy. He's too fast, he's too quick, he's too nippy, and he's getting too many health packs, or he's getting too much support, and I can't actually finish him off. That's really how it feels when you're fighting a Hammond, especially a good one that isn't just jumping in and dying. Which, you know, those are the ones that I find most often in my ranked games lately, which always feels really rough. I don't know about you guys. Right. Again, really nice use of the mines, just another sort of bonus that you get, which is you can deploy them on the point. You can just cover the point with mines in overtime. Come at me, bro. Come fight me, bro. You want to stand near this thing. Ain't going to happen. You can see Lucio blew up on one. I think Smex's Diva bomb managed to clear most of them there. Smex, of course, beautiful Team UK player. Absolutely go follow that lad on Twitter. I think he's at Smexy now. Also go watch his streams. He's actually very educational. He's very on top of his knowledge. So go check him out. Right, and now I'm done selling out for Team UK. We're going to see a final attempt coming out of Gladiators Legion on the offensive. They have 3 minutes 21 to push it around a little bit of a corner. Surely, it's an easy thing to do, right? Surely that's the simplest thing in the world. And honestly, this is where sort of high-level strategy comes in. This is where I'm going to do my first sort of, you know, push his glasses up nose. Proper analysis moment here, which is when you have this much time and this short a distance to go, surely you just run something like a Zarya Hanzo comp and ultimate your way to victory. But they're going to play something more risky. They're going to keep playing this team comp. They seem to like it and seem to favor it. Maybe try and rely on, you know, good EMP setups and use that to crawl forward and use that to kill their way through the map. You can see Doomfist swing and a miss. And unfortunately, that sort of sums up 90% of Doomfist play that I do see in pro-level games, which is that he almost hits a target, but unfortunately, almost hitting a target is exactly the same as missing a target. And as a result, he just ends up dying horrifically, and it's kind of rough, you know? So as the end result, well, Poise is now 50% to an EMP. NLG running a pseudo-Goats comp. Very careful to say Goat-esque comp instead of something else, but hey, it ends up working out for them. Panka, again, going in, you can see how many shields he has. He just gets so many hit points doing that, and now can just go and be so disruptive. Swings round, just knocks people for 6. He's just trying to find that disruption, trying to find that ability to give his team some kind of opening, maybe set up a target for Doomfist to kill, or for someone to finish off, Sombra to get a hack on something. They just need something to go right for them at the moment, but NRG doing a really good job holding them close here, making life difficult. You see Sombra just biding a time. He's going to be looking for those EMPs on both sides, so they have to be very cautious with how they position. Going through the low ground always a bit dicey, but you got the Brigitte there just to sort of help and just to try and stun something up. EMP comes out of Gladiators Legion, I think just gets the Reinhardt and the Brigitte, so as a result, well, they both end up dying, especially that nano boost. It's going to be kind of difficult to survive that one, so they drop down, and this is the big break the Gladiators kind of needed. Smex, DMX feels bad, man. Doomfist has to ult just to not die. He's going to look for something to land on. He's just going to triumphantly land on top of Big Elves and perhaps damage what looks like a fairly expensive sign. So, bad form there, Doomfist. Feels rough, man. But NRG in a really good position to spring back. You know, they have a lot of ultimates, so you might think, oh, well, the Gladiators have got it, surely. When an enemy team has like 5 ultimates, you always want to be a little bit careful. You got to respect that fact. Let's keep an eye on what Panka's doing. So again, swinging in off the sign, but the EMP just kills all of that momentum. Again, Sombra hacks EMP, so good for disabling this poor hamster boy. He can't do anything. This one furry lad just continues to struggle. Reinhardt gets launched into goddamn orbit, but still manages to bring the hammer down. Of course, one big weakness if you're going to be playing that hamster is you don't have a barrier, so Reinhardt gets free Earth Shatters. And as a consequence, well, NRG actually end up cleaning up this fight. Really does feel like a barrier would have been useful there, perhaps. Maybe you just need something to bring with you a barrier. Maybe that is the answer. Maybe in moments like this, if they're playing a Reinhardt, you've got to respect that fact, because the Earth Shatter is really going to punish you. That, or maybe you play a more agile, high-grounded comp and play more avoiding the Reinhardt stuff like, you know, Genjis or Hanzos, Pharah. Just stay in the air and stay away from that Reinhardt. Good, perhaps, way of dealing with some of that. Okay, Panka, again, just looking for that proper rollout, as in a literal rollout. But you can see that Sombra hack just being, again, a massive pain for him to deal with. He's just looking, again, I'm going to roll back. Looks like they might take another bite of the cherry here, but they only have 10 seconds. They've got to get something done here. They've lost their Doomfist, and now they're kind of in a panic. He just comes in, top speed, deploys mines all over the place, deploying them from super high up as well. That scattered them far and wide. He's going to try and get in once again, but that hack, just so crucial, that Sombra play, disabling him so much. And this is sort of the final point I want to end on, right? Is that Hammond is very disruptive. He's very difficult to kill. But if you use certain tools, like Anna, like Sombra, like Brigitte, like Roadhog, he actually has a lot of vulnerabilities as well. Once you start landing those disables on him, he is so vulnerable to being taken down, and you've got to be so careful of doing that. There is also a moment there where that bugged, right? I might just play the replay for you, because, spoiler alert, NRG actually managed to hold there. But poor Falzix actually got one-shot there by the Hammond. Hopefully that gets fixed. I imagine it might already be. But it's something to keep an eye on in future. Maybe it's just you get bonus damage if you land straight on someone. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but keep an eye out on that one. Alright guys, thank you for watching to the end. I've been Josh, as one voice amongst many, and I'll see you next time.